Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about what happens in a big IT company when you get older. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, if you work for a really big IT company like Google or Facebook or some other really big IT company, what happens to you when you get older and you're not as quick and good of a programmer? Do you get fired when you're in your 40s and 50s? It depends. So, guys, all companies are different. They have different policies in Facebook and Google and other companies, and my company included. And it really depends on the company itself. The thing that usually happens when you're getting to your 40s and your 50s in programming is that you have, on average, either you have acquired one of two things. Either you have domain knowledge and a lot of seniority within a very high stakes field, like a project within the company, or you have transitioned into more leadership based work or things like that. These are usually the things that have happened. And if you have transitioned into an architect role, or you have transitioned into like a more, how do I put this, where you have big impact on the organization, usually you don't get fired even at that age, because you spend most of your time communicating and educating non-technical stakeholders on products and informing decisions. You can imagine that you become some type of technical liaison or technical advisor to the different product managers and so forth. And most of what you do is to actually share your experience and so forth. You don't do like at this level, you don't really do any coding anymore. It's very rare that you do coding. You do much more in terms of like hiring, or as I was saying, like coaching and so forth and so forth. But on the other hand, if you're still sort of just a software developer, you can go the other route, which is that you have maybe very small forms of leadership of some sort, where you might be working still with a team or a few teams, but you're still doing a lot of the coding, and you're usually very knowledgeable about the different systems at that point. The only time usually you get fired due to age or something like that, which is it's either because there's a culture thing around it, and as I said, that's not something I can answer. You have to go to each specific company to sort of get the lay of the land there. But on average, people who find themselves unemployed at this age are usually people who have become complacent at some point, where they're not actually very good at what they do, and they get replaced more because they can't actually justify they can't provide the sort of value that is necessary for a company to have. And usually by the time they get to this age, if they haven't progressed or anything like that, it is due to basic incompetence or an attitude problem. These are usually the main reasons. It's not always the case. I have friends who are in their mid 50s who still just do the coding, and as I said, they're very knowledgeable, they know what they're doing, etc., etc. And so that just because you just do the coding, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get fired. I'm just saying that on average, people transition into more responsible, more impactful roles when they're getting to that age, and that's usually the best way for you to stay employed within a large IT company, because it's, as I said, it's very rare that you find people at this age who are just doing the coding, but it does happen. So you don't have to worry that because as I like to say, as long as you're valuable, as long as the results, because results are everything, guys. Results are always everything, and nobody's going to take a guy or girl who is in their 50s, who's like knows everything about the system, always delivers on time, is a pleasant time to be around, and just keeps on churning out value, and say, hey, you have reached 50 years of age or something like that, you are clearly not the right type of person that we want to be have in here. It's never that way. It never goes that way usually, unless there's some really weird political bullshit going on in the company. What usually happens is that you don't fit anymore. Like you have younger, hungrier people or something like that, or you have problems collaborating with the younger staff, or it can be any amount of things, right? Or you simply get a lot of complaints related to your performance or something like that. It's usually the thing, and that makes it usually very easy for people to go, oh yeah, this person is a problem, and they're getting up there in age, so maybe we should just get rid of them because, you know, they're old, etc., etc. So what I want you to take away from this is that no, you usually don't get fired just because you're getting older. It depends on the company. As I said, I've never been in a company where that has been like something that just happened. It's usually the case that either you get fired because it can happen, but usually it is because you're either not performing or the people in charge are finding it difficult to work with you, or you're not fitting into their culture or something like that. It can be the age thing. I mean, there's certainly some managers who have very high flying ideas because, as I like to say, guys, philosopher programmers, there are philosopher managers as well, and there are so many incompetent managers who read a lot of hip leadership books and talk about synergies and agile work practices and having a young and hungry team and so forth, and they get inspired by other bullshit flingers who don't really know how to get results, but sell you on the idea that you should have everybody be around 20 something years old to get really innovative people in place, when the reality is a bit different. And if that happens, that can absolutely not end with you getting laid off because you're getting up in age or something like that. But usually the people who are in their 40s and their 50s in a large IT company have either transitioned into management, which is where the norm is that people are older usually, or they are domain experts or something like that, where they provide a lot of value and technical knowledge to different teams. Have a great day.